You have vacated your place, and they started stoning them. They threw stones at them. You should not, you are cowards and everything. So the Prophet ﷺ went out, said they are not cowards. They just withdrew because this withdrawal in that situation is okay, so they don't get defeated. So Khalid bin Walid was a leader. He was able to face this. And the Prophet ﷺ was a leader. He was able to face all those angry people who are Sahabas, not any kind, who are throwing things at them. So this is the front runner versus the leadership. Now I will take you into a little video clip, and this video clip is a summary of the illusion itself, what we went through.
Are you doing this for world peace? Are you doing this for the homeless? Are you running for women's rights? Or for the environment? Or for animals? Quiet, he's gonna say something.
I'm pretty tired.
So we have 3 more things to go, and then we're done. So once we're beyond this illusion, now we go into this forming this mal-reasoning, where we're no longer, everything is a conspiracy. I only see in one dimension. I always look up to somebody who's going to give me the divine revelation of anything. I cannot confront the masses. I'm part of the masses themselves. And the first thing that we talk about now, I've developed into a prejudiced person. What's a prejudiced person? It's somebody that can only look in terms of everything is a black and white. I'm the white and they're black. I'm the good, everybody is evil. That's prejudice, a ta'assub. So we have to understand what that is. The first action that ever happened after we were created was a form of ta'assub, and here where it comes from. When God asks the angels after he created Adam to bow down, and they all do except the devil. He doesn't. So God asks him, why did you do that? Why did you not prostrate to Adam? And he says, so what prevented you from not prostrating yourself when I commanded you? He said, I am better than him. You created me from fire, and him you created from clay. He was thinking that he's better. That's fine. Now, who's the world champion in the 100 meters running? Usain Bolt, right? Okay. So how is he better? Why do we know he's better? Because he's faster by a fraction of a second. It's not much. But we have an objective means of measuring, which is the time. So he is better than the rest. That's fine. The same thing. Who's the fastest in 100 or 100 meter of swimming? It's Phelps, for example. Okay. We have a way of measuring. Now, what makes, in Satan's mind, what makes him better than Adam? It's that he was created from fire and Adam was from clay, and fire is better than clay. So what is he comparing to? We call in statistics, he's comparing apples to oranges. You'll hear that when you study. You can't compare apples to oranges. Why is fire better than clay? That's in his mind. So when you want to say, I'm better than somebody, you'd better have an objective method of saying, I am better. Because if you don't have an objective means, you're not better. Okay, you're better than somebody because you scored higher. That means you're better in that score. That's fine. Someone passed, someone failed. That's better. That's fine. You can say that. Although sometimes you can't, because that person who failed, for example, might have become sick on the night of the examination, and they were always the top student. But understanding this is very crucial. You have to develop or bring a reason, an objective reason why someone is better. So fire is not better than clay. In fact, what do we do when we want to put off fires when we're in the forest? You throw on it some soil and dust, right? And you put it off. So that's not an enough judgment, but that's where prejudice came from. All prejudice comes from someone thinking they're better than someone because they're white, because they got blue eyes, because they're taller, because they're thinner, because men are better than women. Men get paid more than women. But why? You have to come up. Otherwise, you rank in the prejudice. There are many prejudices today. I took out the slide that talks about prejudice throughout history. There is prejudice throughout history, but today it's against gender, race, history, sports, specialty, like Ahli and Zamalek. You see, people are so prejudiced in Egypt for Ahli and they fight. In fact, guess what they did? This is beautiful when I learned about it. With the revolution going on, there are those who encourage Al-Ahli and those who encourage Zamalek, right? Mushajji'een, fans of Ahli and Zamalek. And they saw the revolution and they have to do something. So they called they called them the ultras. The ultras of Al-Ahli and ultras of Zamalek. And they went into the revolution with all their force to support the revolution. But they're looking for democracy, and they are the ultras. They are the fans, the gangs, like the hooligans of the English Premier Soccer League. This is what they did. And they're there. And they caused a lot of corruption, by the way, in the beginning until they realized. And now everybody fears them because they hold power. But who says that Ahli is better than Zamalek? There is nothing that says that. So my point is, like Syrians in Syria, they ask you, who are you rooting for? And the Syrians will tell you for the one who wins. They won't take sides with anybody. So this is what could cause this. Could cause a lot of corruption. They can burn the stadiums on fire. After the Arab Spring started, where everybody was saying, as I said in the beginning, everybody had this idea that Muslims and Arabs are not entitled to democracy and they can't do it. David Cameron said this about this whole thing. Arabs or Muslims can't do democracy. For me, that's a prejudice that borders on racism. It's offensive and wrong, and it's simply not true. So the West started to realize that there's something fundamental happening in the Middle East and the Arab countries.
After his pilgrimage, Malcolm spent 3 weeks in Africa. On May 21st, 2 days after his 39th birthday, he returned to New York.
Malcolm, have your experiences with white-skinned Muslims in Africa and the Middle East made you feel that relations between Negroes and whites who are not Muslims is any more possible?
When I was on the pilgrimage, I had close contact with Muslims whose skin would in America be classified as white, and with Muslims who would themselves would be classified as white in America. But these particular Muslims didn't call themselves white. They looked upon themselves as human beings, as part of the human family, and therefore they looked upon all other segments of the human family as part of that same family. Now, they had a different look or a different air or a different attitude than that which is reflected in the attitude of the man in America who calls himself white. So I said that if Islam had done that for them, perhaps if the white man in America would study Islam, perhaps it could do the same thing for him.
Malcolm, just prepare to go into the United Nations at
This is Malcolm X, who was a racist. He was very prejudiced against the white to the degree he was considered one of the top racists at his time. He used to think God was black and not white, or he used to ascribe a color and that Muhammad was black as well. Until he went to Hajj, we'll talk about that in a second. You'll see that in a little bit. And when he came back, he said, well, that color of white being better than black, black being better than white, when we went to pilgrimage, that went out of the window because it's no longer there. People all look alike. They're just wearing whatever they're wearing, and women wearing what. So the issue of what you wear and what you look like just goes out of the window, and you come back exactly to being a human being. And this happens especially at Arafah at Maghrib. If you've ever been to Hajj, I think one person that I know who was supposed to join us, he went to Hajj. At that time when the sun is setting, like 2 million people start walking, and you get all the dust up and around, and the sun is gone, you don't see anything, just human beings, like a huge collection of human beings, and that's when you know that you cannot ascribe better or worse to anybody there because you don't know anybody. The treatment of prejudice, this is very important. This is Malcolm X, and this is in Egypt in Muhammad Ali Mosque. When he came back on his way, this is what he said. This is the most racist person at that time in the US. Says, you may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. So that's one thing you need to start working on. If you have previous conclusions and you know they're wrong, toss them out. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just cross them out and know that they don't fit. Then he says, this was not too difficult for me. Despite my firm convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face facts. And this is what a leader does. He faces facts, look at the masses, and says, this cannot be done. Okay? And to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds it. I have always kept an open mind, which is necessary to the flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for the truth. So as you're searching for the truth, you have to keep an open mind, flexible, look for the facts, look at reality. You might change some of your convictions, toss them out, rearrange them, you become a new person. You've just rewiring of your brain in terms of doing that. Otherwise, he could have come back and stayed a racist, and we're black are better than white, and gone into some type of war. And this is what the Hajj looks like, even in the drawings. Look, I mean, there's a black and white, Chinese, Arab, all kinds, and this is what the picture that was drawn a few hundred years ago. Now, the next slide is the treatment. It's from a movie. The movie is called 12 Angry Men. Have you watched that movie? It's all black and white. It all is in one room. The whole movie is in one room, except just for the introductory scene, where where a black guy in Chicago is